Hi, welcome to Box on the Box Rock and Celluloid, Botbrack for short. I'm Edward Box. It's new Extreme album day, so Extreme's 6 albums finally out. Obviously there's been a kind of massive buzz about this. I can't remember a band of the era they're from, which is really the tail end of hair metal, if you think about it. I mean, Extreme weren't glam metal really, but they've kind of got their deal and got popular on the back of that and kind of crawled into the 90s and still managed to be successful up until 92, 93. So the kind of traction this has been getting from the videos has been way ahead of other bands of that ilk. But I think it's easy to forget how popular Extreme were. You know, they had a big hit album with Pornography on in the UK, parts of Europe, and of course it was platinum in the USA. Their Three Sides to Every Story album, although not as popular, was gold, which is still good for the era it came out in. You know, for a time, Nuno Bettencourt's profile in the world of guitar was probably as big as any player. So when they came back with their Rise track, a lot of the focus just seemed to be on Nuno's guitar solo. It was like people couldn't believe he could still play like that. That solos like that still existed. Of course, on things like YouTube, we're used to seeing like players do death-defying feats of guitar, but these happenings tend to just be confined to the world of YouTube, and the audience tends to be within just YouTube, in my opinion. A lot of these players just play kind of trade shows, do videos, things like that. Nuno Bettencourt's from a different era. He's from a band that's had hit singles that made albums when, you know, they used to spend $500,000 recording albums and spend a lot of money on videos. He's played the big guitar festival. He played the Freddie Mercury tribute concert. He played a big guitar festival in Sevilla, and so on. You know, a lot of players based principally on YouTube are not going to get anywhere near that. Not because they're not great players, it's because they're not writing songs and are not part of a band format that crosses over to a wider audience. Extreme always saw themselves as kind of Van Halen meets Queen. I always thought them more Van Halen. I never really completely bought into their Queen thing. So my history with Extreme is I bought the first album when it came out, about a year after it came out, on the back of an article in Guitar World. I quite like the album. I still quite like it. It's a bit immature at times, but it's got some good Van Halen riffing in it, and it's got the classic Play With Me, which is probably maybe Extreme's best song for fun. Then they did Pornography. I loved that album at the time, but I slowly started to go off it. They got overexposed, and I started to kind of pick holes in them. I went to see them live, and I really didn't enjoy it at all. Didn't listen to the album again for about 6 months, listened again, and that was the last time I listened to it. On that, I found their sort of funkiness too syncopated, too precise. I think a lot of the problem was with the drummer Paul Geary, was just so straight on the beat. He had no pocket. Everything kind of, it was almost like it was quantized, but wasn't. Then the Three Sides to Every Story album, I thought had some really good stuff on it, interesting. The problem was it was far too long and all the songs were far too long. But there's some great songs. Waiting for the Punchline, obviously they're responding to what's happening in music, doing more stripped down sound, but 95, that was done and dusted anyway, so didn't think much of that. And then they came back with this Sordes de Rock. I can't pronounce it, sorry. I was just like kind of bemused by that. It was kind of like they waited all that time to come back and the album was drab to me, but it did enable them to tour. Reviews for their live shows were really good, and they did the Pornography 20th anniversary, I think, tour. After that, Nuno went off and was doing stuff for Rihanna, so this has taken 17 years to come out, this album. So let's get down to it. It opens with Rise. It opens with the first video. We know this track. It's got 3.1 million views. So think of bands from this genre and try and find another band from this era with 3 million views who's kind of putting albums out on the nostalgia circuit. I don't think you'll find one. Obviously, things like Metallica, Guns N' Roses are different ilk. So this got a lot of response for his solo. I love the solo on it. I didn't think it was Nuno's best solo. I did a little thing on this channel, no, on my other YouTube channel, sorry, Edward Box Guitar Tuition, really about the fact that I thought Nuno kind of reminded us why we got into him in the first place. I call it a legacy solo. So I really like Rise. I think it's really catchy. I think the thing you notice about this is the production's nice. It's nice and open. The drums are much better. This is the big improvement in Extreme. I'm not sure what the name of the drummer is. Apologies. But he's actually got a really good groove. He's been with them a long time. And now extreme swing properly, swing more, and they're kind of doing less of the syncopated funky stuff. So I really like this track. Then you got Rebel. I like this track as well. This is a kind of got a splashy dun 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 dun, dun kind of groove, and that'll appear later in the album. I actually prefer the solo on this track to the Rise video. I love the little tapping bit, and it is that kind of chromatic fifths thing, and that cool melody. Really like it. Then you got Banshee, not as good as the other two tracks are released, but it's still good. I like what they've done with the videos. What you get with this is the band's made a really big effort. They haven't gone, oh, let's just put an album. They've obviously discarded songs, put songs back in. They've spent time on their videos, making the videos. I mean, the Rise video and the Banshee video using the same set, but they're different. Rebels, a different video. You can see that the band's really set aside the time to go all out for this, and I think it will pay off in terms of people going to see them live, in terms of sales. It'll be really interesting to see where this charts. Very hard for bands to sell, or in the rock fraternity to sell records now. It'll be interesting to see how this does. So Banshee 1.7 million views, Rebel 1.1, again just really good numbers. Then they released Other Side of the Rainbow. So at first I thought, oh, it's an extreme ballad, it's a poppy ballad, but I listened to it a few times. I listened to it again today to review this. I do think it's a really nice track. You know, it's got a nice melody. It's got a really interesting middle eight with really lovely guitars by Nuno, lovely 12-string, and Gary Cherone does kind of quite high register and does some really interesting melodies. So some interesting sort of modal, melodic minor type of stuff going on there. The other thing I should just say is these songs are shorter. If you look at Extreme, like for instance, Pornography had 13 tracks on it. It was like, oh, well over 60 minutes long. Extreme songs started getting longer. This is more like the first album. The songs are 3 minutes. So Rise 4:40, Rebel 4.5 minutes, 3.5 minutes Banshee, Other Side of the Rainbow's just about under 5 minutes. So I think that's much better. So I think these first 4 tracks are strong. I'm just going to look at my notes. This is why I'm wearing my glasses. See if there's anything I missed really. Yeah, Banshee. Yeah, I think I've covered that there. So those are the 4 tracks we're familiar with. So literally they have released the first 4 tracks of the album. So then we're on to Small Town Beautiful. So what I found strange about this track, and I do like it, is it's another kind of poppy ballad, which seems strange to me, like putting a poppy ballad at track 4, okay, 3-4 tracks in, but then doing another one. I think this is a kind of problem with the album, but I do like the track. Looking at the notes here, again, you've got this mixed melodic minor, what I call a Mixolydian flat 6 mode sound in this, which is beloved of sort of film composers and rock bands and Queen and so on. It's got a special major minor sound. You'll have heard me waffling about it before. Nuno and Gary kind of share the vocals, so you can hear like Nuno singing lines, which is always a little trademark of the band, and obviously the harmonies are really good. I should say the vocal harmonies are excellent. Extreme always had amazing vocal harmonies. Obviously not quite up there in sound to me with a band like Queen or The Sweet or Uriah Heep or King's X, but definitely just in that notch behind. Really good blend of Pat Badger included in that. It's very Brian May sort of type solo. You can hear Nuno's Brian May bends on this. So I do like this track. It's catchy. Give it a 6 out of 10, that track. Then you've got The Mask. So this is getting back to this kind of swinging, dun, 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 sort of stompy groove of Rebel. This has got a sort of country rock kind of vocal. I don't know if it's Gary Cherone. It's quite interesting. There's a couple of tunes, the next tune actually, where the lead vocal doesn't sound like Gary Cherone or Nuno. I'm assuming it's one of them. It's probably Gary Cherone. He's changed voice, unless Pat Badger's doing it. Correct me on that. I like this. It's a good track. Catchy chorus. I like the way it breaks down on the verse. It's good. Next, number 7, you got Thicker Than Blood. This has got a groovy sort of dark bass riff. I think there's a bit of the Phrygian mode coming out on this. Again, there's an interesting lead vocal choice. It's got a crazy solo with a crazy octave sound on the solo. Nuno seems to be looking a bit of phaser type of sound on his solos. Yeah, I do like this track. It's again, it's kind of more experimental, but I like it. And then track 8 is Save Me. This has got a chunky drop D riff. It's quite fizzy to sound, but a lot of clarity, and it's got a great solo, very catchy chorus. So The first 8 tracks are really strong. I think it's the back 4 where things kind of go a bit skew-wee to me. I would certainly, give 6 of the tracks, sort of 5 or 6 tracks full marks, and the first 8 a couple kind of 6 out of 10. It's solid. So the track 9 is Hurricane. So this is another acoustic track, Nuno Gary vocal with strings. It actually is a really good track. I do like it. But then the band does, it's only 3 minutes 32. I should just say Thicker Than Blood's 3:47. Again, these shorter songs working. The longest track is next up is 10 is X Out. Now this is, I don't dislike this track, but it's quite sort of left field. It's kind of got a Muse type sounds, like a kind of a synth bass, quite dark and heavy. It's got a kind of bit of Phrygian sound again. But, I don't dislike it, but I'm kind of wanting a kick-ass rocker by this point, Then you get Beautiful Girls, and again, I think the album doesn't need this track. Extreme have always done tracks where it's like you got When I First Kissed You, and so on, where they want to kind of do those kind of songs, but this has actually got a ska beat. Ba, 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 ba. It's kind of, it sounds daft, but it sounds more like something like Jack Johnson would do, or something like that. That may sound crazy. It's well put together. They're obviously going for a bit of fun, a la Van Halen, but it just doesn't totally work to me. I've put down here pop Scarfield on the guitar, and then you got Here's to the Losers, which is again another sort of poppy ballad. The melody kind of reminds me of the groove a bit of Drops of Jupiter by Train, and I really don't like Train. It's got a false ending, and it's kind of got a fun, I've put Gassing Out, Van Halen style ending, again showing her influence. But if you think about tracks that normally finish the Extremes albums, they kind of finished with, well, certainly the debut album had that Rockabye by, which was a ballad, but really well, a great solo. Then if you got the cassette or the CD edition, went to Play With Me. So I think this, although I do like Hurricane, I think that's a good track. I just think, where's the kick-ass track? Or why not use the Beautiful Girls track? Why not use Here's to the Losers and do another rocker? So my overall opinion is the production's good. It's got a good raw sound. It's got clear guitars. It's got more sort of bass. It's not as trebly and bright as those like Pornography. In terms of songs, it has got really good songs. I don't feel as I get the funk out on here, or a Play With Me, or a He-Man Woman Hater, or a Susie. I always used to like that track. But it is a strong comeback record. There's no doubt about that. I just, I would have liked a different balance on the songs at the end. I'm gonna give some 7 and then 2 6s, 82 out of 12. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 because I've listened to it quite a few times, but I need to go in it deeper. But what I would say, I think there'll be people who love Extremes. I don't love them. Who will really like. They'll be very, very happy with this. And if you don't like Extreme, or you're coming back to Extreme, I think you'll be really interested to hear it. So, you've got to hand it to the band. They've made an impact with this album, or they're going to make an impact. And like I said, it'd be interesting to follow his progress. So remember to share and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed that review, and I'll see you again. Thanks very much. Bye.